Tell me your creepiest experiences when growing up.
Me 8 to 10 years old or so. Dad is taking me to meet some of his colleagues. It's a kind of hoity-toity business gathering at nice library. I wasn't supposed to come along, so Dad warns me to be on my best behavior. I was worried I wasn't dressed fancy enough. It's pretty boring, but the people are nice enough. Dad introduces me to a few people he knows. One guy in particular stood out as he was wearing an emerald green suit. The people around were dressed in nice clothes as well, but this guy had a green suit on. Dad tells me that this man is probably the smartest and wealthiest person in the room. The green man takes a great interest in me because I was known for being a bit precocious and I wasn't pretty articulate for a kid, I guess. He asks me a litany of strange questions about history and science, and my opinion on some geopolitical topics. It was absurd, but I was the kind of kid that knew about these sorts of things, and I absorbed information like a sponge. I was basically repeating back to him things I had read in book or seen on TV that seemed to be authoritative. If he asked me about something I didn't know about, I told him as much. That seemed to please him, since I wasn't pretending to be more knowledgeable than I was. He continues questioning me, but then something strange happens. I can hear his voice saying something different than what his mouth is saying. I can hear his voice in my head. I'm very confused. As precocious as I was, I had no idea people could do that, so I was a bit surprised. None of the adults freaked out, so I assumed I was just a little slow on the uptake. The green man smiles at my confusion but then excuses himself in a bit of a hurry. The gathering ends and we end up leaving. On the drive home, I ask my dad about the man in the green suit, and he has no idea what I'm talking about. I try to explain that he literally introduced me to a man dressed in a green suit, but Dad doesn't recall this. I'm left wondering how he could forget that. I don't remember much. The time of my life has faded significantly. I think he might have said something like, "I wonder what else you're capable of." But it's all very vague now. One major detail I left out is that I started having dreams about that man a few months ago, after I started reconnecting with spirituality, Kundalini awakening. It's what made me wonder about that time, and what significance that may have had for me, or if he was even real. In the dreams I saw the same man, in the same green suit, only his eyes were angry and hateful with slits instead of a round center. His teeth were all sharp points. To be perfectly honest, it felt like the man was attacking me or trying to harm me in some way. Fortunately for me, I had already connected with my spirit guides and knew how to control my fears, so those dreams were a mere annoyance at most. If I had triggered whatever that was any earlier, I don't know if I would have handled it very well, though. Pick related, I remember the suit looking like this, and the man was very old but extremely observant, I guess. I've never met anyone like that since, so I can't discount the possibility of a childhood flight of fancy. The weird thing is, years later my dad remembered the trip to that library but still denied ever seeing a man in a green suit.
Be me, 11 years old. At friend's birthday sleepover party. Morning of the second day. Watching a movie. Pause movie to mess around, making jokes and talking. Suddenly get this terrible feeling. Overwhelmed by a sudden, overwhelming sense of cosmic horror. The sound of my friends laughing and talking fades away, like they're underwater. This is wrong. Everything is wrong. This isn't real. The world isn't real. Something horrible is coming. It's going to kill us all. I have to warn them. But how? I don't even know what is coming. It's pointless anyway. Our end is inevitable. Feel like the entire world is falling away all around me. Oh God, nobody knows. I'm the only one who knows. I can't save anyone. My dad is gonna die. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Burst into tears because it's all I can do. Come to with my friends huddled around me. asking if I'm okay. I'm not okay, but I do feel a little better. The world feels real again. Call my dad and ask him to take me home ASAP. Very quiet until he shows up. Not feeling very festive anymore. When dad asks me why I wanted to come home early, I don't even know where to begin. I just felt sick and wanted to come home. I'm pretty sure this was just a panic attack or something. I was an anxious kind of kid, so it's not unlikely. Still, it messed me up so badly that I remember it clear as day, 16 years later. It makes me want to go back in time and hug little me. Poor kid got all kinds of messed up by that experience.
First story. Be me 13 or so and start creating horror stories. Create a pantheon of evil beings and so much more. Create one who is basically a nymph who was discarded by the gods. Wore a white mask, red dress, and white mask decorated in blood. Basically a symbol for sin itself. Become obsessed with said being. Over the years become more and more obsessed. Had 2 moments where my mind breaks and feels like she is physically there. Be me now 18 and she is basically on my mind day after day. I hate her and the more I look into the more I fear I created an actual being. Second story. Be me like 8. Camping in some park in Texas, think it was maybe Garner, I don't know. Go down smaller trail. Parents bought me a bug vacuum since I've always been obsessed with capturing bugs. It's by a river so the entire time I look at said river. Try catching all sorts of bugs with vacuum and fail horribly, cause well not what it was designed to, just be cheap and sell in masses. Eventually see a dragonfly. Look closer and notice it's in a humanoid shape. Picture a blue dragonfly but in a human-like shape and its head is replaced with a human featureless face. I am mesmerized and eventually snap back to reality and try catching it with my vacuum. Fail horribly of course. Tell parents and they just laugh it off and make jokes the entire time. Years later see a video of a family in their backyard. Find an exact replica of said creature but it's in a more stick bug-like appearance. Third story. Be me. Lived in a huge neighborhood in rural Texas by a national park. See all types of weird shit. Large glowing light that just pops up and slings itself into the air fading away by my house. UFO sightings all the time. White light creature on the tree. Usual spoopy sounds in the forest. Emu that just shows up in neighbor's yard. Weird colored feathers that just show up, blue with some purple on it. And so much more, and that's not counting what my dad saw growing up in that area. 2 moments stick out the most. Randonautica become a huge hit app, and if you don't, you know, basically say a thing and it will take you to it. I use with my sister. We decide to do nothing spooky yet and just try normal stuff, and you know what? It worked. But when we used it for spoopy stuff I decided to do demon and it sent us outside, so I went outside by myself. Sister was called to do something by my mom, and right where it told me to go I see a blood red light shining. Instantly book it and run inside. Tell sis and she looks outside and sees nothing, and neither do I. Afterwards get a borderline addiction with app. Use it again at church, same forest, and decide to do evil and it places right outside the border of church. Do it again but say skinwalker and again places it out of border but close to other side, and keep repeating. Skinwalker and does a literal circle around the church. Eventually stop since we were all called in for church. Yo weird ass owl app is recommended.
Be me at 16. A friend invites me to smoke. Friend suggests we go to a cut. Ike where it is, so I agree and follow. We walk across town and stop at an abandoned house by my old middle school. Instant bad feeling. There was lots of rumors about the house. The home's owner allegedly killed himself. A girl from another school went missing some years prior. Last seen by the house. I'm already creeped out but want to get high, so I go in anyway. The inside is dark. All the windows and doors are boarded. We had to get in and out by climbing through a hole in one of the walls. Graffiti and broken glass everywhere. We sit amid the debris and smoke. While we're there, I can hear noises from inside the darkness. Scratching. Creaking. We shine a phone light down the dark hall, but something weird happened. The house was small, but the darkness inside was deep. The hallway beside the room where we were looked like it went on forever. More noises. More scratching. Louder than before. I'm starting to freak out but say nothing because my friend would talk trash. My friend says we should explore the house, see if there's anything valuable in it. I'm at my limit, too creeped out. I make up an excuse and say I need to go home, and we leave. While we're walking back, I ask him if he heard the sounds in the house. What noises, man? I didn't hear anything. I drop the matter, and we part ways. Neither of us went back to the house again after that.
Me 7 to 8 years old, early 2000s. Visit some middle of nowhere with dad. Mom is on wheelchair, so we rarely took her on stuff like that. First day was normal. We go to eat waffles and take a swim in the nearby lake. On our way to the hotel, see clown. Don't really think much. Go sleep. Wake up at like 3 a.m. and hear creepy laughter. Be too much of a wimp to check it out. Just pretend everything is fine and go back to sleep eventually. Day 2 was actually normal. Day 3 as well, but on the way back from the lake we stopped at a McDonald's for food. Whilst shoveling this crap into my mouth, I notice a clown next to our car. Tell dad. He gets spooked hard and calls the cops. They tell him to back off because they don't care about a stupid clown. Eat and go to car. Notice the bastard left a note. MFW at a party invitation. MFW, it has my name on it. MFW party is tomorrow in woods next to our hotel. Now originally we were supposed to have 5 days of fun and return in the early morning of day 6, but we decided to pack up and leave from there on morning of day 4. Hear creepy shit. Like nails on a chalkboard and some wired screeching. Can't sleep all night because of that. Morning of day 4. We are putting our suitcases in the car. Dad goes to take a shit, says to stay in the car. Sit there looking through windows. Suddenly a massive congregation of creepy clowns of all shapes and sizes emerges from the woods near hotel and just stands there. Pretty sure they can't be human. One is like good 7 feet tall and another is normal height, but his arms are like twice as long as his legs. They all sing some wired nursery rhyme. Getting ready to die. Wave. Suddenly dad runs up and we bolt the hell out of there. Never been happier to see the bastard in my whole life. I honestly forgot about this whole ordeal, thinking it was a dream until dad reminded me last year. Truly spookiest thing I experienced.
B15. California. City has loads of parks and foresty type areas. Go to the park closest to my place to smoke a joint. It's a area filled with trees that you can even get lost, but easy to find any of the 30 paths out. It was night, I couldn't get caught. Halfway through I hear clapping and laughing deeper and down a trail. Decide to go down to see what was up. Got close enough to see 20 to 30 people in robes and some ritualistic offering shit like a skinless animal. They must have smelled my loud cause. Once I got to a point down the trail they got dead silent and I heard rustling. I instantly started running the moment I saw them putting out lights. It was already dark as it was. Didn't stop running till I hit the streets. Now I carry.
Me, around 23 years old. 4th of July, me and a group of buddies go to a hunting cabin in Bumblefrick, PA, close to a little town with good fireworks. 4 to 5 of us. Middle of nowhere, no cell service. This time, friend brings another friend of his who I didn't know long. Guy seems off. Something about him just. No. He's not rude, just off. Seems slightly dissociated. Anyway. Later that night at cabin. Everyone drinking beer except me. Decided not to drink this time. Completely sober. Eventually everyone goes to bed. Laying in bed. Suddenly overwhelmed by a terrifying cosmic horror. Worse than anything I've ever felt. I get up. Still a black horror, even with light on. Tell another good buddy who is in the room with me. He doesn't feel anything. I don't care. JPEG. I can script him to start praying anyway. Eventually the horror leaves. Barely sleep. Next day me and him nope out of there early before anyone else. It's a Sunday morning. Go to church. Part of me wonders if that weird kid didn't have a demon attached to him or something that I was able to sense. I've never felt anything like that before or since.
You know, there is one thing that haunts me to this day, seeing which made me unlock certain abilities. 10 years old. Sounds in the hallway. Decide to stand up and look what causes the ruffle. Exit room. 3 tall guys stand at the other end of the hallway. Push back the first with some psychic push. Block attacks with spiritual shield. Communicate telepathically, freak them out. Call in some elder gods to scare them guys away. Noise is still there. They come from parents' bedroom. Decide to open the door. My DOS is frisky with my mom. Which gives me my psychic abilities. 9 years old. Camping trip with Boy Scout troops. Middle of nowhere in County Sligo. In tent with best friend, scout leaders are no more than 10 meters away in their own tent. I wake up and I gotta piss. Get out my bag and tent so I don't wake anyone up. Bring a flashlight cause I'm a total pussy. Walk for a solid 2 minutes so I don't piss near the site. Finish and walk back, turn my torch away from the tent before I shut it off. Corner of my eye I see something around the spot I pissed, was the size of a bull but it didn't look like an animal. Nothing was there the morning I woke up.
Be 5 years old. Often have strange dreams. One keeps reoccurring every now and then. I fall asleep and find myself in an empty city. No sign of human presence other than the buildings themselves. I hear a voice call my name in a childlike, playful tone. Over here, Anon. I look towards the voice and see a geometric anomaly covered in eyes. Pick related, but more cartoon-like, with many eyes. Follow me, Anon. It shapeshifts into a giant arrow and points down an empty street. I follow it. We walk for a while and stop at what appears to be a train station. The map. It gives me a map and urges me to look at it. My heart begins to pound because I know what happens next. Tunnel vision as I focus on the map. A monstrous reptile, like a dinosaur, but more horrific, crawls out of the map and begins to chase me. I run around the train station trying to escape the monster. Dream ends. Move to a different city. The reoccurring dream stops happening. Decades later my mom casually mentions I used to sleepwalk when I was 5 before we moved and she would find me standing up asleep, shaking in fear in random parts of the apartment.
Okay, so here is how I almost died 4 days in a row. Mind you, this one is kinda weird. 15-year-old dumbshit super depressed after my first breakup. Parents pruly giving a damn bout you for the first time since ever because big sad. Unironically think bout kilometers. Decide to do it. Day 1 of how I almost died. Swallowed like 20 sleeping pills, prescription ones but nothing strong since they're meant for kids and adults alike, just vomit all night. After that I began to feel weird. Not like depressed weird or my fucking liver is dying weird, but like I'm being watched by something weird. This feeling continues through this whole experience. Day 2, weirdly enough I'm still alive, kinda shaken by this whole thing and the fact that now my stomach just hurts a bit and that's all. Be walking down the street with friend. One across the road when suddenly some middle-aged woman grabs me and tells me to watch out. She saved my life as I almost walked right under a speeding delivery van. Get spooked and run home. Day 3 freaking out about near-death experience. Stay in room all day expect when I have to walk doggy. Evening walk. Zoning out to some perturbator. Suddenly a damn street light collapsed right next to me. We talking like 5 meters to my right. Almost have a heart attack because of it. Run home. Day 4 I'm freaking out like a shizo thinking the universe wants me dead or some shit. Didn't eat all day so I'm really hungry by 4 p.m. Decide to grab a pizza from nearby. Avoid the crosswalk from day 2. See some sketchy dude near pizza place. Right as I make the order hear a scream outside. The dude beat some kid up so hard he almost died cause brain damage. Perp was high on meth or crack from what I remember. DR I had to almost die 4 times just to get over some stupid bitch. Also didn't get to order my pizza. Still crying about it.
I saw a UFO when I was little. Sister is 10 years older than I am. Her boyfriend's family is rich, has a big house in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. It's late at night and I'm throwing rocks into the pond on their property while everyone else parties inside. See a shitload of lights in the water's reflection. Look up and see a huge object, reasonably close to the ground moving very slowly, completely silent. All the lights on it make it very clear it's not plane shaped. Run inside to get my sister because holy shit what is that, and I was scared of the X-Files at the time. Come out and there is nothing there, just empty night sky.
Be me. My girlfriend and I were driving from a date in Atlanta a couple years ago. Apple Maps told me there was a traffic jam blocking the interstate from Chattanooga to Nashville. We decided to take the highways home. I was driving on Highway 8 toward McMinnville at 11:30 p.m. when a blinking cone of light appeared across the night sky on my left. The light was huge, spanning miles in length. It was probably only 5,000 to 10,000 feet up in the air. It was a semi-cloudy night and it was below the clouds but way above the trees. The cone of light was not that wide but extremely bright and aimed forward in the sky, not at the ground but straight forward. I woke up my girlfriend who had been sleeping at that point, and she also sees this strange blinking cone of light that seems to be approaching us. The blinking was on for 2 seconds and off for 2 seconds. As we passed the craft, both of us got a good look at what it was. We were expecting to see some kind of airplane or radio tower, but what we see is something else entirely. It appears to me as an all-black bike horn, with the cone of light being emitted from the cone of the horn. My girlfriend described it as a hanging lamp. It passed us going no faster than 100 miles per hour. One thing about it that we both agreed on was that the craft was very large, larger than an airplane. It was about the length of 4 passenger airplanes. We did not turn around to follow it, as it was going the opposite direction. It was going in the direction of its headlight, and had no visible wings or means of propulsion.
6 years old, werewolf face in bedroom window 7 feet off the ground. Months later, floating wing skulls in bedroom doorway, close eyes feel myself floating on my back down the hallway, wake up on the front porch and go back inside to bed, no one notices. Months later, mother wakes up a frantic mess, both naked, talks about us running in the field, clothes are in the wash covered in grass and sticks. Think she's full of shit years later, although I vaguely remember. Do DMT last year twice. Grays start showing up every few nights at the edge of sleep for months after, then eventually quit. Terrified at first but now just super curious and convinced they're running the show. Deja vu throughout life. This is just a sandbox to learn in as far as I can tell. It's fine. Probably stuck on a loop till we get it right, I don't know.
8 years old. Creepy ass stairs leading up to my room with only light switch at bottom. Every other light was off. I turn off the switch and terror run up these mother lovers every night. One night, right as psyching myself up for the terror run, scary music randomly starts playing. Hello? Shittingbricks.exe. Who's there? This isn't funny. About to cry. Later I discovered the Windows 98 Haunted Mansion screensaver plays creepy music even though the monitor was off. Synchronicity screwed me in the ass, dude.
Friend and I roughly 12. Don't remember much from childhood except our time together. Lived in a woods. Literally only went home when parents made us. Neighborhood has a small patch of woods. Funnels into a small area of no homes, then into a massive forest. Stay mostly in the woods by the neighborhood. Small streams and such, hiking, riding bikes etc. One day get bright idea to follow a creek to its end. Stay beside or in the water entire way. Walk for well over an hour. Realize we've entered the forest. Creek empties into a river we didn't know about. Turns out several kids drowned in that river through the years. Bodies never found. Happened over decades. We didn't know that at the time and only found out years later when we built up the nerve to ask his dad about it. Getting late afternoon and hungry, we head back. Walk near the creek but a little further away this time. See a large mound of earth we missed earlier, large oak tree sitting on top. Not quite a hill but a good 15 to 20 feet high. Decide to inspect. Notice a small opening on the side facing away from the creek. Probably a small animal den. Friend was always more adventurous than me. Let's investigate anon. Whatever. He starts poking around inside. Hey, it's pretty big in here. Starts digging around at entrance. Hole large enough to squeeze in. He wasn't kidding, we both fit inside. Hey anon, when we get home let's grab some tools to dig this out. Why not? Get home, get grub, get tools and we're off. The cave becomes our after-school project. Head directly there every day after school. After a couple weeks, shit was legit. 2 beds made of wood and pine branches. 2 chairs dug into the walls. We could both stand, arms raised and not touch the top. It was like an underground clubhouse. Shit was cash. Hey anon, wanna stay here Saturday night? Hell yeah, tell both parents we're staying at the others overnight. Saturday night, we have snacks. Board games. Flashlights. Slingshots, 12 years old weapon of choice. Make a fire and roast marshmallows. Mess around in the creek. Kids being kids and loving it. Climb inside at sunset. Found a round wooden tabletop we used to roll in front of the opening for a door. Used a length of pipe to push some holes through one side and the top for ventilation. Settle in, fire goes out. Reading comic books by candlelight inside. Boom. Sounds like a cannon fired. Loud as snap and a ground shaking thud. What the hell is that? Silence. Dead silence after that. Let's check it out anon. Are you serious? Slide tabletop just a bit so we can peek outside. Friend whispers. Did you see that? I couldn't talk. I was in front of him, he's basically looking over my shoulder. Saw this thing's silhouette. It was cloudy but the moon was nearly full and gave some light. It was massive. Walked on 4 legs. Size of a horse but moved like a cat. If it had fur I couldn't tell, it looked smooth and possibly gray. It was walking past the mound toward the creek. It stopped. I swear it looked right at us. Its eyes weren't visible in the dark but they had that creepy ass shine from catching the light. Slowly, so slowly I started to roll the tabletop back over the opening. Friend hadn't moved. I don't think either of us took a breath. The opening was nearly closed when it let out this sort of gurgle. I don't know how else to describe it. It sounded almost like a snake hissing underwater. One more push and it's closed. One more peek. It turned around. It's coming this way. Quickly but as quiet as possible we tried to barricade the door with wood, rocks, anything heavy we could find. Another gurgle. Much closer. I could hear it sniffing near the door. Not sure if at the door or the fire pit. Somehow friend and I never made a sound. Sitting center of the cave armed with cheap slingshots and steel balls. terrified. Suddenly several large thumps on the mound. It was climbing up. No idea what time it was, minutes felt like hours. Faint sniffing and gurgling noises. It was sniffing through the vent holes. Oh no 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 no, we were trapped in this thing, knew we were near. Now sniffing and gurgling from the other vent hole. We gon' die tonight. Scratching at the door. This went on for what felt like days. Door, top vent, side vent, repeat. Looking for a way in. Looking to kill what it smelled. Not sure of shock or exhaustion, but both our dumbasses fell asleep. Woke up, could have been hours or minutes. No noise. Could hear birds. Woke friend up. Anon, what are we going to do? I don't know, man, can't stay here forever. Open the door. I ain't opening that shit, bro. We sat in silence for what felt like hours. Screw this. I'm going to look outside. Takes a while to unbarricade door. Finally do, move it back a couple inches. Daylight, thank you Jesus. Seems clear. Count of 3, anon we open door and run like hell. 1, 2, 3. Door rolled open and running like Usain Bolt on coke. Gurgle hiss. Blood-curdling gurgle scream. This is it. This is how we die. Just keep running, never stop running. Friend screams. Keep running. Everything goes blank. Anon, are you okay? Mom? Oh my god, Anon, what happened? I don't know. Where's friend Anon? He's inside, he's badly hurt. Anon, what the hell happened? Begin telling mom everything, start crying, just want to see my friend. His dad's in the way, his leg is all ripped up and bleeding. Go inside sobbing, dad's patching up friend's leg. Anon, I'm so sorry. Don't be, bro, you did what I would have, we knew we couldn't stop. What happened? I don't know, Anon, I was running behind you and something grabbed my leg, I pulled away and kept running, didn't even realize I was bleeding. His leg looked like shark bites I've seen. Shredded. Don't know how he managed the last few hundred yards. Told parents everything. Dads grabbed guns and headed back. Saw nothing. Said the top of the mound was all dug up, another couple inches and it would have opened up. Found huge sets of paw prints deep in the mud. Massive tree branch on the ground where we first saw it. Think the thing was in the trees watching us. Never went back. Often wonder if the boys who drowned in the river through the years really drowned. Bodies never found. It's as true as my friend and I and our families remember it to be. We grew up in Elk Company Pa, and the river was the Clarion River. When our fathers went back armed with guns, my father took 4 paces between the front and back paws/claws from where it first appeared standing still. The branch that it fell or leapt from was dead and its weight must have broken it. Anyway, we measured his paces later at right around 2 feet, maybe slightly more, meaning roughly 8 feet foot to foot. I can't describe it well other than it moved like a cat moves, but much longer and taller than anything I've ever seen. I've searched zoos, encyclopedias, National Geographic, etc. Literally and source I could find of every known predator, and nothing quite matches it. I've listened to hundreds of predator growls, screams, roars, etc. And nothing matches that terrifying gurgling hiss, like it had some kind of liquid in its throat. I've since spent time hunting, camping and hiking in woods all over the country, but there is nothing on this earth that will ever lead me back to that forest. My friend and I have since drifted apart, and rarely ever speak, but he still bears the scars and will forever walk with a limp. I remember the first time I watched the first Avatar movie, I legit left the theater terrified when the Thanator scene came up. That thing was so close to what we saw. I won't say it looked the same, it was dark, we were young, and terrified. But the size and the movement were so similar. Anyway, thanks for the positive feedback, that shit changed my life forever. To this day I'm claustrophobic and sleep with a light on. Pickrell.
Only really spooky if you were there, but I'll share. Be me, back in middle school. Visiting a friend's house who lives out in the countryside. Closest neighbor was a little over a mile down a serpentine road in either direction. 5 of us there without supervision because house brother's parents weren't home. Mainly spending the night playing vidya and talking. After a while 3 of the group are asleep aside from me and one of my swim team mates, Ben. It's a new moon and it's cloudy, so it's completely pitch black outside. House borders on a thin strip of wooded area a few meters away, so thin you could probably walk edge to edge in 15 minutes. Ben and I are sitting on a second-story balcony that faces parallel to the tree line. We're talking about stupid shit and he starts idly messing with this cheap laser pointer that looks like a laser tag pistol on his keychain. He's just waving it around back and forth across the tree line and the lawn of the house. We continue talking and after a few minutes there's a blue dot on my arm. Both of us are confused, realize it's the light from a laser pointer, but it's coming from the woods. The dot runs across my arm and shirt a few times before disappearing. Find it kind of funny for a second, before realizing that means someone is in the woods watching us. We try to play it cool and pretend like we didn't even notice it as we went back inside. In hindsight that was completely retarded because we both looked right at it and clearly reacted to it. Get back inside and wake house bro up, the other 2 would have probably lost their shit and called the cops, so we just let them sleep. Try to figure out what to do, if we should call one of our families, etc. Decide to just hunker down for the night. I wasn't planning on sleeping during the stay regardless, so it wasn't too bad on me. Night goes smoothly, nothing else happens or ever came of it.
B8. Mother is pathologist. Visit her at work after school sometimes. She has to do something, leaves me in her office. Decide to go see the corpses. Ghost of old guy standing next to his. Grins at me, asks me if I'm the youngest doctor here. Politely tell him I'm not but my mother is. He says he can see the resemblance, she did a good job on him. Wants to offer me candy but remembers she took them from his breast pocket. Mom barges in looking for me, asks me what I'm doing. Tell her I was talking to the ghost but he just disappeared. She looks at me funny, tells me ghosts aren't real, she would know. Tell her the old man wanted me to have a candy from his breast pocket. Her jaw drops. Old man laughter from nowhere, we both turn to the corpse. Its mouth shuts slowly. Mother tells me to wait in her office and goes to check on her work. Joins me half an hour later with a candy from the ghost's pocket. Takes my promise to never let anyone know about what happened under pretense that she'd lose her job for handing out personal possessions.
Been meaning to post these since forever. Praise Op for opening this thread. My childhood was filled with stuff like this mostly because of my friend group being adventurous. Story 1. B6th/7th grade anywhere from 10 to 12 years old. Be me. Play hide and seek in an old underground parking/basement area. Place was used by 3 buildings, it was huge. Also dark as hell. Me and 2 others get caught, so we're searching for our 4th friend. Friend comes rushing though us, literally knocking the wind out of us and continues running. We thought that somehow he didn't see us / he had mistaken us for someone else. As we are shouting for him to come back, we hear a distant scraping that gets closer fast. As we are processing the sound, a sharp metallic screech comes from the direction of the scraping. Like what a fox with a vocal box would sound like. Sprint the hell out of there. Feel sunlight after what felt like hours underground. Everyone has a different perception of what that thing sounded like. I don't know if the sound was just too unorthodox to describe or somehow it changed depending on the person. Friend who was hiding said that it was a person screaming his lungs out. Others say that it was explosion-like or a loud hiss. Fast forward 9 to 10 years. Event turns into a debate with the same group of friends. Theories ranging from a water pipe problem to a schizo-homeless person. Friend who was hiding has no recollection of said event and says it's just a collective false memory. Thoughts? Story 2. This actually didn't happen that long ago as I was 18 at the time. B. Senior in HS, 2021. Summerish. B. At a strip mall? With same friend group from before plus a few others. This mall is quite the popular spot for young chav types to hang around and pick fights with each other. It's almost always crowded with kids and teens. B. In crowd waiting for friends to grab some food from a bakery. Hear whistling. Now normally whistling in this place would be nothing out of the ordinary, but this was different. It was calculated and flawless. Get out of crowd. Whistling starts following us. We start to get annoyed thinking it's someone trying to provoke us. The whistling is always close to us but out of sight and, as I said, robotic-esque. One of my friends with a non-existent temper gets heated and runs towards the whistling. Whistling stops. That's that. MP4. Go to friend's house and get hammered. Leave around 2 a.m. with another friend and go home. As soon as we step out the building, the bastard is back. Now it's more malicious in tone, like it's taunting us. We curse at the sound, but it just continues. At an area with tall hedges. Whistling is getting really close now, like just behind the hedges. Me and friend decided that we jump the bastard on his mark. 1, 2, 3. Nothing. Then the bastard whistles again for the last time. The sound went over our heads, doing something of a 360. Literally or assault material. And then nothing. Go home bewildered by what the hell we just experienced. Story 3. Sophomore winter of 2020 per-COVID. Chilling at home playing Sekiro on my PS. An unsaved number is ringing me. Pick up and it's an old woman talking in Albanian. Politely inform her that I don't speak the language and that she has the wrong number and hang up. As soon as I put down my phone, it starts ringing again. Sigh and just put it on silent. Continue with game. Pick up my phone after some time to see if someone has messaged me. MFW 54 missed calls and still ringing. Oh, it's on. Pick up and shout at them for a few minutes, mutually exchanging curses and swears in foreign languages. Hang up and block. Don't think much of it. Tell friends about these crazy ass old people. They want to have a few rounds with them. Much shouting ensues. 30 minutes after the last call. My friend's PC literally fries itself. Freezes and emits heat like a radiator. Pull the plug and open it, cause something other than the cooling fan was making noise inside. The motherboard was half melted. Friend visibly upset but doesn't attribute this to the Albanian witch. Go home. My PS had all its files corrupted. Closest I've been to ending it. Another friend had something similar happen to him, but I don't remember what it was. I just know that it was with something like a boiler. We all mutually agree that all of this is cause we go hexed by that granny. Decide to call again. Number doesn't exist.
Alright, time for the weirdest story. Be 11 to 12 years old. Trip to some big ass water park for summer cause no camp this year. I was big into scouts and shit like that at that age. Trip was super cool. Going back home after 3 days of fun. Not even sad cause I'm so satisfied with trip. Suddenly a feeling comes over me. Dad, I need to take a number 2. Pull up on nearby gas station. Okay, Anon, go poop and we gonna refuel and buy some stuff, just be quick. Go into toilet. Pick related, expect no mirrors and stall doors were more like the shitty ones at school. Go into the stall on left, there were 3 stalls and the one in the middle was occupied. Poopin' and minding my own business when I hear a ungodly scream. Something like a mix between a deer and a bear. Scared so much I no longer need to poop but don't wanna leave stall. Hear weird voices? Hard to tell. Speak in some weird language. Latin I think, although not sure. Say blood flowing on the floor from the middle stall. Jesus Christ help me. MP3. My stall door shakes violently. Scream like a little girl. Beg for mercy. Everything stops. Blood is gone. Bathroom empty. No clue what the hell just happened. Wanna get out. Door to outside won't open even though it lacks a lock. The hell do I do now? Scream for help. Dad hears me. I'll get help anon. Calm down a bit. Turn around. Middle stall is open and I see this massive shadow monster thing. I vividly remember that it was dark with large horns and eyes that reflected light like animal eyes on photos do, but not much beside that. Scream louder than ever in my life as it slowly approaches me. Right when it's like 3 meters from me, some biker with a crowbar who my dad recruited opens the door. They look and see nothing in there. They think I'm crazy. Dad is mad at me for a couple of months cause he had to pay for that door.
Shared experience with my little brother, had a few other experience as well, but nothing like this one. Be 12 years old. Find out that Transformers, 2007, is going to be on TV at 11 p.m. on a school night. Want to watch it with my little brother? Ask mom. She says no. We'll see about that. PNG. Devise plan with my brother. Pretend to go to sleep. Wait till parents are asleep. Get out of bed. Tell my brother to close all the doors and turn on the TV while I prepare snacks. Oh yeah, it's all coming together. JPEG. Don't hear TV being on. Goddamit. PNG. Walk into living room, see my brother frozen in place staring at something. Hey, what's wrong? Notice it. See a pitch black entity with white face and red eyes with its head peeking out just behind the couch. It suddenly drops behind the couch. Stand there for a couple of seconds. Walk slowly into kitchen. Take knife. Crouch, walk with knife in hand to couch. Peek behind couch. Nothing. We didn't watch Transformers that night.
Another GF story. Be me. 12:30 a.m., November 12, 2020. Sophomore in college, bringing my GF to my place to meet the family. Home is in Middle TN. Semi-rural. There is a large forest behind my parents' house that is hundreds of acres. We are awake at night so we can get the PS5, which was releasing at 4 a.m. at the local GameStop. Full moon, super clear and bright night. Let's go look at the stars up at the cat wires. There are TVA cat wires running an electrical grid through the forest. Huge clearing at the top of a hill in the forest next to the cat wires. We see my neighbor's giant white cat playing around the entrance to the path. Pet cat. We go to top of the hill in the forest. Was lit, got my dick sucked too at the cat wire. Nothing suspicious yet. Appreciating the stars. Around 1 a.m. we start to walk back to my truck, which is parked at edge of forest. Begin to hear a strange howl or whoo about a mile away and in 2 separate places. Could be a coyote, owl, or other wild animal, so we thought nothing of it. Keep walking. We are only about 500 to 1,000 feet away from my truck now. Howl proceeds to approach us and turns into something that sounds like an Aztec death whistle with loud clicks in 1-second intervals. Sound is very close now, coming from the treetops. At this point my GF and I didn't even say anything, but we were now running for our lives. The sound is now coming from about 4 different directions, all in the forest, and couldn't be more than 500 feet away from us and closing in fast. We break through the forest shrubbery, ditching the regular path to my truck. I quickly jump into the bed while GF is already starting the truck. Peel out. I stare into the wilderness, and at this point I can only hear my heartbeat and the engine. Later, at GameStop parking lot, my GF tells me she saw what was chasing us in the forest. Said it looked like a human-sized gray raccoon running swiftly on its hind legs. Never seen my GF more afraid in my life. Never spoken of again.
I was a college freshman, 10 plus years ago, at home for the summer, working at a burger place in Seattle. Halfway through the summer this guy around my age joins, and would talk with him to pass the time. He asked me a lot about college, specifically about sororities. Every conversation seemed to find its way to the topic of parties or sorority girls, but I didn't think that much of it. Move forward a month or so and I'm at my last day, and we're talking about me going back to college. He said he was going to visit the first weekend of classes. My college is known as a party school, people visiting for big weekends is not uncommon, so again I didn't think much of it. I knew I wasn't going to meet up with him, but I humored him and said we'd hang out. Flash forward a few weeks, I hear of some dude breaking into a sorority house and hiding under a girl's bed. It was him.
Be me, about 12 years old. Used to hike behind friend's house down a huge Texas drainage ditch. Always told his mom we stayed in the house. No cell phones, no weapons. Mostly tall grass, chain link fences that are the back of warehouses and factories. One day we're going through the forest. Talking to friend, turn. See a man. He's just staring at us. Realize we're in his home in the woods. He has little structures built, about 4 of them, all different shapes. One tent, the others I don't remember really, one was kind of blocky looking. Kept talking to my friend. Staring at the man, he stares back. Start walking around. Don't look back. Years later. Hey, remember when we saw that guy in the woods? Friend has no recollection. I have no idea how he didn't see him. I thought him being quiet was just playing along with me, pretending like he wasn't there, signaling to the man that we weren't going to bother him. Some part of me wonders if he's still there in the woods.
Be little kid, still sleep with gate on side of bed because of sleepwalking. Have dream where great grandfather is lying in my bed glowing green, not that type of glowy. He is also sick, I am standing over him. He reaches out and touches me with his finger. I am now glowing green. Get scared, back away. Look out bedroom window which is wide open. Thunderstorm is brewing. Lightning crashes. Instead of thunder a loud voice roars something at me. I have never been able to recall what it said. Wake up in that bed. Window really is open, actual thunderstorm happening. Loud thunder. Window slams shut seemingly on its own. Scream at the top of my lungs. Grandparents run upstairs. Tell them about my dream. Grandpa walks away, doesn't say a word. Grandma explained my great-grandfather had passed away overnight. Family is Catholic, so the incident is never spoken of again.
Be me. 8 years old. At the beach with my friend and his mom. Playing on boogie boards in shallow water. I get sucked out in the riptide. Start panicking and lose hold of the boogie board. Screaming and frantic. An old fisherman sees me hess about 20 feet away up to his waist in the water. Throws his shit down and starts swimming out to me. He had a distinct look of age on his face but also looks like he could be in his 40s. As he approaches me I'm screaming at him and he doesn't say a word. Puts me back on the boogie board and swims me back to shore. Go running up to my friend and his mother to tell them what happened. Fisherman heads back to the spot he was fishing in. Turn around and point to where it happened. What fisherman.png?
Was hunting with my dad, we used a whistling system to avoid accidents. While chasing a bird, we got separated as he fell behind. I whistled and continued to get led deeper into the forest. Bird is long gone. After a good 15 minutes I realize there is no way he has somehow gotten ahead of me. I whistle once more and still hear it further ahead of me. I turn back and walk to where we got separated. Dad is there wondering what the hell I've been doing. I asked him how he got ahead of me and he looks at me confused, says he hasn't moved since I started chasing the bird. I watched him walking parallel to me before we were separated. Never went back there. He still thinks I'm insane because of it. Skinwalker, demon, any ideas?
Would see green glowing spots on the wall of my childhood bedroom, but it would only be in the spot once and move. Looked like glow paint, but it wasn't, and would be in different spots each time on the rare nights it appeared. I'd literally get up and inspect it. My brother would see bright flashes in the house and has seen creepier shit while awake. I've had cats jump on the bed, and I don't have a cat, a very specific feeling, and wait, and lay down, and it happened while I was 100% awake multiple times, years apart. I of course immediately jumped up and checked to see nothing. It wasn't sleep paralysis. And then of course sleep paralysis I do have chronically, which is why I'm aware of when an event isn't a sleep paralysis.
Bimi 9 years old. Mom was Burmese. Came from a very wealthy family that apparently made its money through making tattoos and houseproofing. One day we were on a trip to the south when we were about to enter a roundabout. In the middle of the roundabout, like 5 meters in the air, there was an old man just floating there. He looked completely normal, not translucent or anything, Asian with a white shirt, gold patterns and a long yi. Just flying/floating above the roundabout. I told my family if they're seeing this too, and no one does. They think I'm crazy and talking shit. At night my mom asks me what that man looked like. I describe him to her, and then she says that I apparently described her dad, who at the time was 81 years old. A week later we get a letter from Burma that my mother's dad died. Mom was crying through the whole night, and I comforted her by telling that he smiled at us.
Be me. House is sort of in a woods. House faces road, but back of house faces thick woods. Playing Morrowind in room. Hear loud ass thud coming from backyard door. Get up and look outside. Something has hurled a dead rabbit at my door from the woods. Bastard is covered in blood. Lock the door and keep my rifle close. Nothing else weird happens. This was about 3 weeks ago, and nothing has happened since. Not sure if it was some cultist or skinwalker or whatever you fags think.
Summer of 2014 or 2015, I think, I don't remember. I'm like 18 or 20. Hanging out with one of best friends. Our usual mo in these times is to go hiking or whatever in daytime and chill in evening, play vidya, whatever. Go climbing around a free recreation zone by a hiking trail, basically a zone where you can do what you want at your own discretion. Basically a mountainous kind of series of rocks, stones, trees, weird little paths that went up and around and so on. Keep in mind this isn't in a forest or anything, we're in upstate New York, and this zone is smack right in the middle of a quiet but still well-populated small town, so we can hear cars and chatter of other folks below on the actual trail. We be climbing around on rocks and shit, massive boulders, just gallivanting around. This is basically a mini mountain composed of big rocks and trees and shit. Find a very small opening that is between a bunch of rocks to the side. Can only really see into the opening from chest up because of where we were, pretty high up in the zone at this time. Looking into the opening, there's a little clearing of sorts. It's pretty large and open, sunlight peeking down through. A pretty big hole up top, so it's pretty well lit. Ground is warped somewhat, so it isn't perfectly level. Looks innocuous, like I said, it's well lit and open, so if anything we're curious. The opening is tiny. Friend is a bigger guy and I'm skinny and thin, so I decide to check it out. Takes me good 90 seconds positioning myself to get in. Like I said, we can only see into this thing from chest up where we were standing. I'm in and just taking it all in. Keep in mind my friend can see me this whole time, so he has an eye on me. I'm just looking around being like, hey, this is cool, just having a time. I'm in the middle of the clearing, just standing there looking around. Suddenly from a patch of darkness like 75 feet away from me, I hear a hissing sound. It was incredibly quiet, almost like if you turned the volume down on a human pretending to hiss like a cat. The sound was also very brief, only lasted about half a second. What in hell? PNG. I freeze and listen out of curiosity. I'm looking right at this patch of darkness where I hear the sound and don't see anything. Hear the sound again. Get a horrible feeling all over. Audibly say, I'm getting out of here. Mortal fear engages and I book it out of there. Entrance to the little area was much easier to get out of than in. I slip out like a lizard in 2 seconds. Buddy and I scramble down about 500 feet from the entrance before stopping and looking up at where we were. Nothing there, no sound. We leave immediately. And that's really all there was to it. I know I'm not describing it well, but the terror was immense and palpable. It became a joke between us for a while that I was almost eaten by a mountain lion or something. Maybe it was a snake or bobcat, honestly, but I saw no movement or anything. Buddy also didn't see anything. Probably the one creepy experience I've had in adulthood.
Story my mom keeps telling me. Be me as a baby? Live in the middle of nowhere with my parents. I'm sleeping in my crib. Mom is laying in bed next to me. Dad is at work. It's super late at night. Room starts feeling super cold. Mom looks over at me and sees a woman standing over me in a black cloak. Mom starts feeling sad for no reason. Woman is looking at me like she wants me. Mom screams, "Get away from my child." Woman hisses at her and runs away. Dad gets home and they search the house together. Woman is just gone. That house was so weird. I don't know what was going on in that place.
Late to the thread, but this is a bad one I tell my friends and family about when we talk about stuff like this. Wake up, girlfriend's side of the bed is empty and our door is open with the kitchen light shining inside. Yell her name. No response. Get up and walk into kitchen. Hand on floor leading into dark hallway. Stare at hand for a minute, pissing myself. Hand pulled away into hallway. Hyperventilating. It's my girl, I have to save her. Slowly walk and peer into dark hallway. See skeleton horse head attached to a corpse with limbs decaying and falling off, floating above the floor. Hear whisper. Turn around in horror at whatever the hell just did that behind me. Nothing. Turn back around. Loud static and screaming. The floating corpse with the horse head begins floating towards me at rapid speed. I wake up screaming. It was a dream.
Be me, 10 to 11 years old. Friend from baseball team invited a bunch of us for some sleepover thing. 7 of us there, we're watching Avengers outside. He brings out 3 flashlights, suggests we go into the forest behind his house. I get one, he gets one, another kid gets one. 2 kids go with him, one with me, another with third flashlight kid. We go separate from the others into the woods. Boy with me says, "How deep into the woods are we going?" He's the only pussy of the group. Until we get lost. Plan to mess with him works, he's clearly scared. Walk for a few minutes, same old trees, nothing notable. Boy stops, dead silent. I turn around to him. Looks like he is about to burst into tears as he points up. Turn back around. Deer split down the middle, intestines all over the place, claw marks all over it and the trees around. Highest claw marks are 20 feet up on the trees. The deer is still breathing. We turn back and run like we've never run before. We get back, everyone has been waiting for us. We say that we're all sleeping inside, no further explanation. Tell the kid that organized the whole thing the next day what we found. Parents went into the forest. Didn't find anything, no blood, deer, or claw marks. Both me and the boy with me know what we saw.
Be me, about 15, living in a rural village in upstate New York in the early 1990s. My friend and I are members of a pretty fundamentalist church at the time that were kind of popular in the region back then. Nothing to do during the summer nights, so my friend and I used to walk all over the town until the early morning hours. Liked to go to one of 2 graveyards that had an old section, early 1800s. The graveyard had about 8 diameter, natural stones arranged in a circle among some trees. I'm walking in the cemetery, step into the circle and am immediately gripped by something which throws my head back and shakes me violently. My friend lays hands on me and prays. Whatever is happening stops. We run, I get halfway over a bridge on the way home and it happens a second time. Friend lays hands on me and prays and it goes away again. We run home and are freaked out the rest of the night. 30 years later and I remember it like it is yesterday. I asked the friend about it over FB a few years back and he didn't remember it.
I grew up on a farm and when the sheep had babies we would have to go out and check on them. This happened to me one of the nights I had a 3 a.m. shift. Playing Silent Hill 1 as it had just come out and I needed to stay awake. 3 a.m. hits and time to go check the sheep. The weather is cold, foggy and misty just like Silent Hill. Great, I'm gonna die. All the sheep are good, got one new lamb put up with mom, seems healthy. Hear an indescribable piercing scream in the woods. I am actually gonna die. Seriously though, what makes a sound like that? Piercing screech again. Okay, I'm not imagining it. Maybe it's a calf stuck in mud and bellowing until it's hoarse. Didn't make much sense, but I needed a possible explanation. Well shit, I guess I need to go check. Screeching continues periodically and I venture into the woods where I'm hearing it. None of the cows in that pasture anywhere to be seen. Realize the source of the sound is moving away from me. Okay, it's gotta be a fox or wounded rabbit maybe. Now I just want to know. Keep moving towards it. It keeps moving away. Eventually shouldering my way through thick pines. Can't see shit with my light at any direction. Just trying to get out of the pines into something walkable. Flashlight blinks out. Screeching sound moves closer. Shit. Shit. Don't panic. Banging flashlight. Nothing. Screech from maybe 20 feet away. Screw this. Blindly pushing through trees, getting scratched and cut. Screech loudly in my ear. I feel like I felt its breath. Blind panic, I'm sprinting in the dark towards the edge of the woods. I just want moonlight, please. Arms and face are bleeding, but I make it to a clearing and the light turns back on. Say screw that, I'm gone for real. Keep hearing whatever it was, stay in the woods as I'm leaving that night. Hear it numerous times after that, always in the woods, always at night. Convince myself it was a barn owl so I don't go insane.
Be me. Decide to visit video game friends in Missouri. Drive 11 hours. Get there and start walking with them. Me, 2 dudes, and my girlfriend to be. Walking down this trail at like midnight. Smoking swishers. Gif. All is right with the world, continue walking. Come across a section on the trail canopied by trees for probably a few yards. To the left of it from where we are is a large pond, to the right a tall grass field. Earl shit posting until I see these messed up things jump across the path from the bank of the pond into the tall grass field. One of the 2 dudes sees it too. They look like the height of a doe, but they're all skinny in the loins like a greyhound. Tell everyone to just ignore it for now and keep the remaining swisher lit. Secretly paranoid because I know about stories and shit like this. Make sure the others are calm. Begin to hear something like a fox whine coming from the edge of the tall grass that gets closer to us but won't leave the grass. Decide to turn around and hoof it back. Tell other dude to keep that swisher lit. Fox whine sounds like it's just repeating itself almost mechanically. Still following us. Everyone on edge. Get back to the car and drive off from that little park. Several months later someone commits suicide on that same trail. Does anyone know what the hell I saw? It was too big to be a coyote or a fox and too emaciated to be deer.
Went to some abandoned Soviet farmhouse that I found on Google Maps. Went there with couple of my buddies during Blood Moon. Heard voices in my head to get the hell out of that place, while walking deeper into farm. Usually I have voices in my head before something bad happens, for example when I drive drunk and there is police nearby. Anyway, we went deeper and voices in my head become louder and louder. I knew something bad will happen. But everything around become more quiet. We was walking without any light, and then we all stopped because we all saw this huge silhouette with yellow eyes, that was gazing at us maximum 7 meters away through the window frame. We stopped and freeze, and then that thing started to scream at us with very unpleasant voice, sounded like something from Left 4 Dead video game, that witch zombie or woman that has smoked and drinked whole her life, and trying to scream at top of her lungs. So that thing screamed for a couple of seconds, and I screamed back after that. I was hoping that it's a elk or some wild animal, and it will screw off. But then it started to move our direction and moved some bricks, so one of us just said let's run, and we did. During running away I saw my friend falling a lot of times, and I felt so relieved that he will die, not me. That thing was following for sure, but there was too much adrenaline and I didn't see shit. It was following also in forest, making some messed up noises, that my friend who was waiting in the car even heard. We got a bit lost in that forest, because it was young pine tree forest, and running through it was crazy. My face was all messed up after that. But we survived. After that for like 2 months, every time there was a full moon I saw that bitch in my dreams, calling me back there. One night I almost went, but I didn't go in the end. This happened like 2 to 3 years ago. Sometimes I have urge to stay there during full moon overnight, in a tent, but my friends most likely would not go with me.
B9. In my room playing Kingdom Hearts. Hear what sounds like my dad walking down the hallway towards my room. Didn't hear him coming up the stairs, kinda sets me off, but oh well, continue working on my gummy ship. Hear a noticeable belch from the hallway near the storage room, then more movement. Door was wide open and footsteps came closer. Stops near the door frame. Call out to my dad but get no response. Think my dad is just playing a joke on me and brace for a jump scare. Nothing. Get back to playing my game but don't hear anything else out of the ordinary, and the TV downstairs is still in the background. Finally head downstairs to see my parents and my brother watching something on TV. Ask my dad why he came upstairs earlier and he told me he hadn't moved since the program came on. Our home was right on the property of a coal mine supervisor's home. My dad put a lot of work into renovating the property. I always was afraid of the storage room as well as the third room with a crawlspace. Had a few weird experiences in this room as well. We moved out a few years later and my aunt and grandma moved into that home. The last time I was in the house was a few years ago after my grandpa passed. I had the same feeling going near these rooms even as an adult.
Be me. Around 6 years old. Wake up in dead of night. Can't remember the time. Scramble out of room needing to pee. Out of the corner of my eye flickers. See large, black cloaked figure. Gulp. Closer look at it and it resembles a cross between a plague doctor and the Grim Reaper. Deathly white skin, wearing a mask with a long curved beak but could see the fiend's mouth and eyes. Short, sharp teeth. Cold colored eyes. Talon nails sticking out from underneath sheet body. With raspy sneer it hisses and floats towards me. I am the emissary of the living dead. Practically piss my pants, stare at the emissary for 5 minutes afraid it'll kill me if I move. It vanishes. Rush to bathroom to empty my bladder and bowels. Struggle to sleep the rest of night. I've never seen the emissary since, but it lives rent-free in my mind. I've always wondered if this was my child mind reinterpreting a horror movie, but I can't think of any movie that has an entity like this.
Not super scary, but my only experience. Be me a year ago or so. Chilling in bed, trying to sleep. I start to feel breathing on my neck. Regular, gentle cold blows of air. Assess my situation, I'm alone, the window is closed. Maybe I'm somehow blowing the air through my sheets this way. Hold my breath to check if I'm doing it myself. It continues. It's also out of sync with mine. I even stick out my leg to see if Teresa breathes in my room, but no. Screw this, I turn around to face it. It stops. F you ghost or whatever.
One of my earliest memories is a deranged woman fighting my mom in the park. Yelling, "You stole my child. This is my child and trying to grab me. Mom had to physically overpower her and chase her away. That woman cried as she fled, "I will find you again, son. I will save you one day." My problem is that I have had so many paranormal experiences that I barely notice it anymore. A couple months back, I ordered Jimmy John's. When it arrived, I tossed the bag on the counter and went back to my computer to finish something. The receipt, which they stapled to the bag, is hanging off the counter, and for several minutes, I see the receipt moving up and down as though it was caught in a breeze. Looked at it, shrugged, finished what I was doing. It wasn't until 10 minutes after it stopped that it dawned on me that there was no breeze, no air movement, and nothing that could make it blow like that. Unfortunately, the moment was gone by that point and there was nothing I could do about it. I get banging on walls all the time, but never acknowledge it because I got used to instinctively ignoring old house sounds. Except my current place isn't an old house, and normal creaking and settling doesn't sound like shit being thrown against a wall. But, of course, that doesn't dawn on me until well after the moment had passed. I'm so bad at this.
Not creepiest experience, but you reminded me of it. It's 2009, I'm 15. Stay up all night watching friend play Silent Hill at another friend's house and shitting bricks. Step outside to go to the shop up the road for rations, mainly Kinder chocolate snack bars which we loved at the time. Hear eerie loud droning siren like the one from Silent Hill when shit is about to go south. Sprint to the shop without a word. Good times. Turns out it was a steam horn or something at an old mill that was now disused but preserved as a sort of museum quite far away. Sound can carry strangely far when the weather/pressure is a certain way. My grandma said if you could hear trains on the railway a mile away it mean it was going to rain.
Be 19 years old. Meet with GF after not seeing each other for a few months. Fool around with her and get into sexy time. Finally night. Get to sleep with her. Wake up in middle of the night. You are hugging her. Feels nice. JPG. Someone opens door to my bedroom. My GF opened it and comes through the door. What? Realize you aren't hugging your GF. Hyperventilate. Wake up. My GF woke me up because I was hyperventilating. I know this may be just a shit story, but every time I remember it, it just spooks me. It spooks me because I didn't remember any single dream for a few years from that situation, wanted to achieve lucid dreaming, achieved it, after which I had constant nightmares about my ex-GF dying.
Nothing really paranormal, but we used to check out like abandoned buildings when we were 16, and we found an old water treatment facility with these tunnels underground, so we checked them out for a while. Then when I got a job later in life I had to take a course about confined spaces. How before entering anything like that you have to test the air for certain odorless chemicals that can kill you, like rust eating the oxygen so you don't even know you're suffocating, just messed up, thinking we could have just died in there cause we were curious.
I've had a few bouts of sleep paralysis. I've got tons of paranormal stories, but I'm not afraid of the paranormal, so my experiences aren't creepy or scary. My sleep paralysis experiences, on the other hand. First experience. Just saw the first Paranormal Activity movie in theaters. Freaked me out at the time. Sleeping that night. Wake up. Can't move. Can feel angry evil shadow entity watching from my closet. Can't even turn head to look at it, but it's radiating malice and hatred. Entity forces me into a sitting position, then throws me across the room into the darkest part. Suddenly back in bed. He does it again. Over and over. Eventually wake up, terrified and gasping for breath. Second experience. Wake up in bed. Can't move. Room is very dark, but can see around my bed. Bed is surrounded by evil animals with glowing red eyes. They hate me. Especially the big white duck. He hates me the most. Feel the bed depress on my right, then on my left, like someone is straddling my chest. Can feel the hatred from the entity. It starts beating the shit out of me until I wake up. Third experience, laying in bed with my girlfriend. Spooning, facing the edge of the bed, not wall. Arm laying straight, hand hanging off bed. Awake, room is normal. Fall asleep, but wake up and everything is the exact same. Except for the hag staring at me from across the room. Jerk awake. Room is normal. Fall asleep, right back into the same thing. Room is normal, but hag is back. Closer to the bed this time. Jerk awake. Fall back asleep. Hag is closer. Jerk awake. This repeats until the hag is standing at the edge of the bed, 2 feet from my face. Jerk awake, say screw it, and go out and chain smoke on the porch.
Back when I was about 10 years old, I lived with my mother in an old house. I remember there was this long hallway which connected to kitchen, toilet and bedroom. We were super poor and we had to sleep in one bed till I turned 14. So the creepy thing happened one day. I was lying in the shared bed, watching some anime or other shit on my phone, when suddenly my mom called me over from the bathroom, or at least something made me look away from my phone. Immediately I saw a giant bug humanoid. It was about 160 centimeters or so. I freaked the hell out and screamed as loud as I can, averting my eyes. When I looked back, the thing was gone and I never saw it again. The uncanny thing is, I remember how it looked like quite well, at least its head. It looked like an ant's head but with giant, red, bulging compound eyes like that of a common fly. Does anyone know what the hell was the thing I saw? I never hallucinated as a kid. This event happened exactly once. Personally, I had a strong conviction that it could be Beelzebub, for some reason. At least that's what my intuition tells me.
Be me. 9 years old. Come downstairs for dinner. A hallway connects to the kitchen from the stairs. I started walking to the kitchen. Suddenly I see myself in front of me walk into the kitchen. I'm still in hallway standing still processing what is happening. My mom starts talking to me. Run into the kitchen. Oh Anon, weren't you just here? Still no idea what happened. I asked her about it a couple years ago and she said she vaguely remembered. She passed last month. I miss her.
B8. Stay up late watching TV in the living room. Accidentally see the beginning of a horror movie alone. Turn off the TV out of fear. The last shot of the movie was a close-up of 2 scary eyes. The TV was the only light in the room. Find yourself in a completely dark room now that the TV is off. The only thing you see is your own faint reflection on the TV screen. Start trying to sneak into your own room completely silently for some reason. Heart rate through the roof, start almost crying because of the fear. Eyes start to adjust to the dark halfway to your room. Suddenly something catches your sight. See 2 glistening eyes floating in the middle of the hall. Terror runs down your spine and you freeze. The eyes don't move. The eyes don't blink. No matter how hard you try to look, you don't see a body connected to the eyes. Almost pass out since you stopped breathing as you froze. A few seconds pass that feels like 10 minutes. Nothing happens, so you're forced to act. Slowly walk backwards to find a light switch. The hallway lights up. It's your older brother, stoned out of his gourd. His eyes are red as all hell. Start laughing out loud. Brother mumbles about something, but doesn't respond to you. Get scared again since this is the first time seeing your brother like this. Shake your brother to try to get him to his senses. He becomes very confused and doesn't know where he was. He was sleepwalking. After that it happened quite a few times, always when he got high. Apparently weed makes some people sleepwalk. The only other super creepy story was when as a kid I probably saw what is supposedly an extinct canine animal, and a guy who was tracking it figured out that I saw it and interrogated me and prevented me from leaving. I was alone, maybe 9 years old, and he was very forceful.
I'm pretty sure I almost got missing 411 as a kid. Family outing in Appalachian Hills near where I live. I was 6 or 7 probably. My cousin and I went far off into the open woods while parents set up picnic. Fall time, so no brush. I saw this huge pile of branches and sticks in the middle of the area, climbed up it. I remember look out and around, then I looked up and saw this black mass plummeting down towards me. Bolted so fast and ran back to parents telling them what happened. Cousin was behind me but didn't see anything and wondered why I left him out there. I haven't thought about it in a while, but every time I do I remember it exactly how it was. And even then I could not make out what it was that was dropping down to me, but it was like a black void was coming at me. Parents didn't believe me, of course.
Be 11 or 12. Be really into pulling pranks. Come up with a new prank where you stand on two sides of a small road with your friend. When a car drives towards the spot, you mime pulling a rope tight between you two very visibly. The cars always do a sudden brake and sometimes yell at you. Mostly it's a pretty harmless prank. Pull the prank all around the town. Figure out the best place to do it is close to the town's only McDonald's. That way you get people to do a sudden break with a fresh drink or food in their laps. Once see a milkshake explode in the windshield of a car and get chased on foot. Nothing bad happens though. One day pull the prank at a small road. There's almost no cars around and it's getting late. Think that you picked a bad spot and start preparing to go home. Realize you're not really sure where you are since you've never been in that part of town. The atmosphere gets strangely tense between you and your friends. All of you are scared for no good reason. Decide that you want to do the prank at least once, so you wait for a car. After maybe half an hour you see a car at the end of the road. It's nice looking newer car with tinted glass so you can't see who's inside. The car comes close and your friend gives the signal. You pretend to pull the rope and hear a horrible screeching sound. The screech is normal, but the boom that happens afterwards is not. See the car on the road fully stopped with its front bumper crumpled inwards and the windshield shattered. The bumper is completely destroyed, looking like a tight wire cut into it. Become very confused and just stand there looking at the totaled car with your friends. The car's doors open and a family of 4 stumbles out with the kids crying. The airbags inflated and front passengers are both clearly injured. Have no idea what the hell happened since they crashed into nothing. Decide to run away into the night. Never pull the prank on anyone again and try to forget it ever happened.
Little kid living in rural Pennsylvania. Used to be home alone and would comb every inch of the place looking for presents while my parents weren't home, especially around birthdays and Christmas. Up in the attic once looking through old family stuff. Come to small dresser and start opening drawers. All empty except the last drawer. It was off its track and made a grinding metal screech like nails on a chalkboard. Inside were 2 neatly folded garments. They didn't look old or dusty but clean and new. I unfolded one of them and it was a hooded robe like monks wear. Thought it was strange how new and clean they were, really freaked me out. Thought maybe it was some witchcraft shit. I got really scared and remember trying to fold it back exactly how I found it. Too scared to ask my parents about them. Some weeks later my mom says they'd be going out later. Dad comes by my room and tells me they're leaving. Hear mom up in the attic and that distinctive screeching sound from the drawer. Remember the robes. Being a 90s kid I naturally go into detective mode. Knew my room was between where my parents were in their car. Climb out window and hide behind the back seat of their car. By that time I went from fear of getting caught to holding back the shittiest biggest troll face grin. I wanted to laugh so hard and just jump out and scare them, but I didn't. We drove probably 20 minutes. Dead silence. Finally they pull off somewhere and get out. My dad walks away, then my mom after. Slowly look up and get a bearing of my surroundings. No other cars. See my mom walking up a hill until she disappears over it. She was wearing the robe. Complete silence for a while. Still looking around when I see bright light from over the hill. Then smoke. Then the screams of what was definitely a woman. Lay back down, close my eyes and plug ears to deafen the noise. Parents eventually come back and drive back home. Never said a word. Repressed it entirely until this thread and seeing the comment about witchcraft.